spoke last year about who the fuck is Jackie Bumpers. And now we are speaking about, and forgive my pronunciation if it's wrong, DuPont's passing.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay,
Excellent.
good. I
On
was
the
like, I'm
money.
gonna go with a silent, yeah, silent vowel there. Or
Yeah.
yeah.
DuPhomf. Yeah.
So was this film born like immediately after your sort of success together of Jackie Bumpers?
Sort of. I came up with the idea of wanting to do a Western like with Chip as I was like driving the footage for the last film to the place where it's going to get processed and developed. And I was like, oh wow, like I think I'd just gone on a trip that took me up the coast and I saw like long waving dune grass and mist. And then I had this idea of like doing this kind of rather crazy Western and effectively just roping Chip back into hanging out with me in the Super 8 camera again. So we did it, but not the way we thought we were going to do initially, but still.
As
So
is always the case. Yeah.
yeah, no, things never go as they're planned. And I mean, Westerns, they're cool. I'm a big fan. What about the genre spoke to you? Why was this what you wanted to explore?
I mean, I quite enjoy a Western, but I came at it from a place like Westerns for me were things that like my dad would watch on a Sunday afternoon on the TV. And I was never a big fan of the more conventional, just like classic sort of Hollywood era sort of Western. I've now like gone back around and sort of appreciate them for a different reason. But I kind of found myself inevitably drawn to like more irreverent forms of the genre, and particularly things like spaghetti westerns, and then sort of like the neo-revisionist westerns then sort of came out of the 70s off the back of that, like where it kind of sort of reinvented itself like a couple of times. And I feel like when you're playing with that, you're playing with kind of like a mythical landscape of America frontier. Sort of it becomes like a fantasy land that you can kind of sort of jump into and play in, but yeah, it's kind of got like flexibility in strange places.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned spaghetti westerns because yeah, that's sort of me as I came as well to them maybe later in life. And it was through spaghetti westerns. And I think I was the same. When I saw them before, I was like, what is this? Then I was like, hang on a minute, they're really clever.
Yeah, yeah, there's sort of like this wonderful subgenre, and then it's its own thing in its own right, and it's had such a big influence. And obviously, yeah, it sort of feeds into this sort of little crazy western that was very much like the forefront, I think, of my mind coming into it.
Yeah. And you, Chip, obviously in American westerns are,
Yeah.
a staple over there. Were you excited to play in this kind of genre?
Yeah. I mean, for sure. I think the cowboy is obviously a classic trope, especially like in American pop culture, American cinema. Um, and I think for me to try to bring that kind of character to life is something that I hadn't really gotten a chance to do before. And I think um, playing, I guess Jackie was also a period piece in a way, but a little more grounded, a little more modern, I guess, and easier to access. And so to try to figure out how a person would live like in that time and as a cowboy out like luckily the environment we shot in made it very easy to feel that. I mean, we were being swarmed by bugs and out in the hot sun, and you really get a sense of what it would have been like to, no AC, no modern conveniences, how hardening that probably was for people to come out west and be put into that environment. So I thought it was a blast to start to bring Jacques to life, and and yeah, we really enjoyed it.
And I mean, so Jackie Bumpers and Jack, apart from the namesake, they're both quite mysterious, dark, twisted men, perhaps. I mean, are these the characters that Alan keeps on feeding you?
I think so. I think he sees the darkness inside or something. I don't know. I'm not sure. No, he had a very funny thing after we finished Jackie. He was like, "What kind of like what would be something you'd want to do like from a character perspective?" And I told him I wanted to play a character who just really loses it, like loses their shit completely, goes totally bonkers AWOL, just like lets that rage come out in a way that we didn't really do with Jackie. And so um, I think that was sort of like the starting point for building Jacques, and you see that in those moments where he's throwing this tantrum and flinging off his hat and his coat and everything. Um, and I actually flung a belt into the bushes, and we never found it again.
Oh
So
yeah, that's gone. That was like
there's still
a
a belt
proper,
out there in the mountains
yeah.
somewhere. Maybe someone will find it one day. But yeah, I mean, I think obviously as an actor, bringing to life characters who have a darkness inside them is very interesting. It's feels a little forbidden, or it lets you access places and things that you don't normally get to do on an average day in your life. So I do think like bringing those characters to life is something that's an interesting exploration for me, and Alan writes them so well, so there's a lot to work with, and it's always fun.
I mean, yeah, this character, I can't say I got a handle on him, which is probably what you want. Like,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know, and there's no real, it's quite an ambiguous film, which I enjoyed. Like Jackie Bumpers was quite kind of clear cut, and we found out about him, and that was it. Whereas this one definitely, yeah, it just leaves you questioning a lot of things.
Yeah, no, I think that was in part intended and also in part a result of like some of the constraints we had in terms of like how we approached the film. So this film was made, again, we shot on Super 8, where it was really made with the ticking clock over us. For both me and Chip lived in LA and were living and working together. And then both of us, sort of for different reasons and whatever, like sort of moved away from LA. So we had like a time period in which we were both leaving roughly around the same time. And we wanted to shoot one more thing before we had to go because we didn't know when we'd get to shoot together again. And I had 4 cartridges of film in the fridge that like I had to use. I couldn't bring them with me on the plane. I'd be afraid they went for the X-ray and be destroyed. So we had like that's 2.5 minutes a cartridge. So we only had like 10 minutes worth of footage to shoot. And we had a ticking clock, and we just decided that was it. We were going to go off, we were going to film something. And I think that it's maybe not evident directly in when you watch the film, but we shot sync sound on Super 8, which is rather, it's a bit of a funny thing to do because there's actually not like it's not 100% synced, crystal synced the motor. And Chip only got one take at the dialogue. That was it. He was only allowed one take. We like rehearsed it a couple of times. I gave him like one note, and then we rolled, and that was it. Chip actually, I think he forgot one part of it, and then when we finished, we're like, "Oh wow, we've got loads of film left. Fantastic! We could do more." And then only in the edit, I was like, "Oh wait, there's a little bit missing, but that's all right." And then we just
I think, I mean, you wouldn't know. It's not like you're watching it going, I think there's something missing. Just the whole
yeah,
thing is mysterious, and
yeah.
So how how did you find that challenge, Chip, of knowing that it was like now or never?
Yeah, I mean, it felt very much almost like doing theater or doing, like putting up a play or something where it's basically it's live in the moment, right? And you just have to do it. There was, I guess, the ticking time bomb of like if anything goes wrong, like I guess we're not going to have a film. So that does hang over your head a little bit. But I think, Alan and I had worked on the monologue quite a lot. We had rehearsed it prior to the shoot day quite a few times, rewritten chunks of it. I'd given him ideas and suggestions, and we had gotten to this place where I think we both kind of felt pretty locked in terms of what it was and what we were trying to say with it. And then, so yeah, I think on the day it was just about being like trying to stay in that headspace and get there. And luckily, we had probably about a 2-mile hike into where we were shooting, and I foolishly chose to do it all in costume the whole time, like wearing the cowboy boots, which was definitely a mistake having to walk back 2 miles in those cowboy boots. But yeah, I just tried to really sit in it and soak in who Jacques was, so that when that moment came, like it would come out and feel authentic, and it's easy to always nitpick your work, but I think it worked and came out really nice. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's definitely like a snapshot of a man that you want to know more about.
Good.
Um,
That's our hope for sure to make to bring Jacques to life in a bigger way maybe one day. So that's definitely part of the plan.
yeah, well, we're still waiting for the Jackie Bumpers series as well, Alan.
Oh
I
no, yeah.
know.
Well, that's that will come. That will come. Yeah, he's not gone.
The location, I mean, is amazing, and obviously because you've just got Super 8. How? Because there's some, you've got some great angles, and you really do have the feeling that there is nothing around you.
Yeah, so we filmed in the sort of foothills of the Santa Clarita Mountains, Chip, right? Was that it? Yep. So
Yeah, maybe about like an hour north of Los Angeles,
an
up
hour
into the
north of Los
mountains.
Angeles. It was just off of like, again, I think it's one of those perfect things. It's, at the end of the day, it's what's in frame that becomes for all that matters. Like we had like a dirt bike track directly behind us. Occasionally, like you'd have these guys just sort of cutting through and then seeing a man dressed in sort of this full kind of like spaghetti
Just waving.
western,
Hey.
like attire, like out in the middle of the bushes. But no, it was this wonderful little location, and thankfully, yeah, it just had fantastic views. I mean, Southern California is just a really wonderful place anyway. Like that's where they shot so many westerns back in the day, and it just naturally evokes that. So we got very lucky being that close. I think again to that point of with it was one of those films where we used what we had and we knew we could get into a really cool location and just create a sense of like isolation and sort of dread that comes from that. And we were just very careful just to like stop panning before we saw any telegraph lines, really.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, I didn't notice any, so you're fine.
I mean, that's a weight off my shoulders.
Yeah.
And also, yeah, you don't have to lug a lot of equipment up there. I mean, yeah, you're in your boots, but it's a great format for sort of getting somewhere that otherwise, if you've got the lights and all of that, might not be as accessible.
Yeah, I think it aids itself for sort of guerrilla filmmaking, which obviously Jacques was as well, but like just shot like stealing locations and shots all around sort of Los Angeles. This allowed us to, yeah, I think again, it was like a super small footprint of a crew. It was just me, Nick Severson, who shot it with us, and Chip. And we just lugged up like a camera case of lenses, a couple of backpacks, bounce, a tripod, and I think that was sort of it. So we could be nimble, but again, that was like a lot on us in the hot sun being bitten by horseflies, which I think only,
Yeah.
adds to the, just sort of bleeds into the film inevitably. So you kind of get that sense of, yeah, just, it was.
Yeah. All of our hands were all,
Yeah,
we had bites
you guys
all
all
over our
went
hands.
home and they had
Yeah.
bumps over your hands and insect bites that lasted for weeks.
Nice. I mean, you went for the authentic feel.
We went for the authentic feel, yeah.
Oh yeah.
So, what about after the filming? That's when the challenging part starts. Syncing everything together, putting it all together. And I want to ask you as well about, those great sort of kaleidoscope montages that we've got.
Oh, brilliant. Yeah. No, I think the edit for this genuinely was really, really just like fun. I really enjoy editing, and I knew that I wanted to almost use like every single scrap of footage that we shot. Again, it was kind of like scraping, like, scraping the last bit out of the yogurt pot, kind of, in terms of almost every frame we shot, we kind of use or utilize in an interesting way in the film. A lot of the kaleidoscope stuff was done practically like in camera. We had some really cool lenses, really cool filters that we sort of fixed over our lenses. And then some of the other stuff was obviously just in the process of editing it and creating like the language, because it uses like some sort of more trippy-esque like moments of editing in there and sort of visual like images. And it was kind of building it out and then just sort of trying to accentuate it. So then we started doing things where like we'd mirror things, and that fit nicely with the practical effects that were being done, and it all kind of built out from there.
And was that all planned, or was that kind of as you were going through it?
That was planned for the most part. Like I knew I wanted to use these filters and go out there and like shoot some really crazy stuff, and we used that. And then in the process of editing, I think there was, again, like it was maybe if a shot didn't work for the way I wanted it to work, I would then go back and then find out if I could manipulate it in a way where, like, yeah, split it, mirror it, double it up, or whatever, and then create like an effect that fit the visual language we were sort of establishing. And it kind of just all grew from there.
Yeah. And Chip, were you involved in the post-production?
A bit, yeah. Alan handled a lot of the edit work, and then I helped with some of the visual effects work. So the Spectre that you see that comes over, in my day job, I'm a motion designer and 3D designer. So I created that in Cinema 4D and built that, and then handled a lot of the end side of the post. So like conforming once we got color back and sound and everything. I own the master file, I guess, as I have a large computer that can render it out. So yeah, it's definitely a collaborative process. I think too on the edit, like Alan did a lot of the edit, but he would send me a draft and I would give him feedback and notes. And so it's always a collaborative process. And I think our two sort of day job skills of like motion designer, 3D designer, and animation director always kind of like find a way to come together and build something in that post-production process, whether it's like the signs you saw in Jackie and some of the other things we did with Jackie, like the neon work and the titles and stuff, or whether it's in Jacques doing, yeah, the titles, the Spectre, these other elements that are added in. So, yeah.
Nice. And what is sort of has it been screened? What have opinions been?
It hasn't been screened.
It
hasn't been screened as of yet. Like it's yet to sort of like kind of get itself out there. Whenever people, I mean, I feel like it always gets a good reaction whenever I've sort of screened it for people or like sort of send it off to someone who's maybe been curious about it. I don't want to kind of give too much away in terms of, I suppose, like spoilers, because the film sort of hinges on like all these different tonal elements, and then there's something that you don't quite expect to be part of it, sort of inevitably kind of gives it a little lift. But no, I think I'm
all right. Who's that, my love?
That's all right.
I'm flat, and she chooses right next to me.
Oh no, it's all good. She's a gorgeous dog.
She just loves you.
No, yeah. So I feel like it gets the reaction I think I'm after from most people when they've seen it, which is nice. But yeah, we've yet to kind of really get it out there in the world, but hoping to see it with a bigger audience, obviously.
Yeah, no, and I know what you mean. I've been careful as well, which is I'm like, it's a bit ambiguous.
So it's a bit ambiguous. Yeah, it's got like
give it all
you don't
away.
want to kind of give it away. It's the film has like works towards something, and you know that's in part a big sort of part of the joy of it.
Yeah, no, 100%. Because especially as well with a film that's so short, for it to sort of for you to be waiting for something, and it's got this narrative arc, but whilst it's really weird, it's really, really well done, and I really appreciated that in it.
Yeah, it was kind of like I wanted it to feel like it was narrative. I wanted there to be weird stuff in it, but not to be entirely alienating, and then almost there's like a reward at the end of the film with it, which I'm more than pleased with.
Good. Well, this is what we're doing. We're setting up the intrigue.
Yeah, intrigue.
Yeah. So people want to know what's going on. They're probably going, why is there a spectre flying over, in the like Californian desert? And what about...
You have to watch to find out.
They've watched to find out, exactly. So how has your working relationship sort of grown, and your creative language and all of those fun things?
Oh, that's a great question. I'm excited to see what Chip's...
We're like late era Beatles. We're just fighting all the time.
Yeah.
My wife is ruining our relationship. She's always trying to butt in.
It's a deeply traumatic relationship of agreements. No.
Toxic.
Yeah, it's really it's some nasty stuff, but we're just entwined now, and we can't kind of separate. We're codependent. No, I feel like our working relationship started with Chip color grading an ice cream film I made several years ago, and then like sort of like the actor director relationship sort of bloomed. I mean, we're really good friends sort of outside of that. I think it's one of those nice things where we can work together both creatively, professionally, and sort of still be such close mates, and that's kind of the nice bit. It's one of the reasons where, like, when we finished Jackie, and I was like, oh yeah, like I thought, let's get Chip and put him in a hat, and we'll go up and down him, and we're gonna do a Western now. It's gonna be amazing. And I kind of knew he'd be on board, especially because, like, I think I at the beginning of the process, I feel like I had to prove myself to Chip almost. I'm like, listen, Chip, like, trust in me, and we can make something. It'll be all right, mate. It's all good. Enough, Chip. What do you?
Yeah, I know exactly. Everyone's waiting.
Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, I would echo all the same things. It's awesome to have a creative partner that you can continue to make work with. And I think, yeah, in those early days of, like, I was trying to prove myself to you because I don't think I actually really knew how to color grade back then. I think I was lying probably, or fake it till you make it.
Did it.
And then, I think one of the hardest things when you're trying to do filmmaking is it's a collaborative process, and you have to find those people that you like to work with. And I think you see this even with, like, the biggest names in movies and television, right? Like, they always work together. You see these repeated partnerships or collaborations between people. And so I think for Alan and I, that's been the case. And I think like getting to shoot this one, we already had that shorthand of how to work together on set. And then I think in the post-production process too, there's just always an understanding of each other's, like, interests and aesthetics. And again, I think our talents or our skill sets also mesh really well together. So we kind of, like, fill in each other's gaps in that way. And so, yeah, I mean, I think I would say we both really miss living together. I miss being able to drive over to Alan's house and have a drink on his back porch while we read the latest script. It's a little different when you have to do it on Zoom calls, but I think we want to keep making stuff together and make bigger stuff and just keep this process going. So mates for life, creative partners for life.
Ah.
Yeah. There you go.
Oh, I love it. It's made me feel warm and fuzzy.
Oh.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, if you look at cinema, you look at history, there are some great relationships. Like, my favorite is Pedro Almodovar with Penelope Cruz. I mean, they've been together for so long, and you'd think that after a while, things that they put out might start to look stale, but they don't. Because I think you continue to develop and grow and push each other. And that's what's so exciting, that you don't just do the same thing over and over again. It's like, right, what can we do next? How can we improve? How can we make it better? And so hopefully you'll both push each other towards those kind of things.
Oh, no, yeah, 100%. I'll just keep pushing Chip until he goes absolutely insane. No, that'd be brilliant.
I text Alan every day and say, "Are you writing?" So
so that's
nice. And are you writing, Alan?
I am writing. Yes,
right.
Yes. If only just to keep the wolves of Chip away from my door. Yeah, I'm writing.
He'll be sending spectres over to you.
He'll be sending spectres over. He's coming. We'll be hanging out soon. You're coming out for a visit, aren't you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Coming out in May to visit Brighton. So we're looking forward to it.
I'd say the weather should be a bit better by then.
Hopefully. It'll be starting to get hot here, so I don't like the heat as much. So
oh, well, welcome to England then. It's mid something, isn't it?
Well, so I'm expecting to see a script when I arrive.
Yeah.
When I get off the plane, to be handed a...
Yeah, he's going to be on arrivals with a balloon and a script.
That's it.
Yes, exactly.
Well, thank you guys so much. It's so lovely to talk to people again and to talk about other projects. It's a real privilege.
Oh, no, thank you, Sarah. It's always lovely to chat to you. And brilliant. We're excited to share the film, and thank you for taking the time to talk to us about it. And
brilliant.
Yeah, thank you so much. It's been great.
Great. Good. Yeah, it gives you some renewed vigor.